Boom. We are alive, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. It's a few minutes late. The electricity just went out in Costa Rica on a middle of a summer day, which is extraordinarily unusual. If it's pouring rain and trees are falling down, I 100% understand why electricity goes out. But in the middle of the day, guys, what is happening? Anyways, as you can tell, we're back at the Bear Cave, a nice little family vacation. Happy Christmas, New Year's, Hanukkah, Schwanza, whatever it is you might celebrate, spaghetti monster time. It's good to be back. I had some deep family time, which I hadn't done in a long time. I hadn't actually seen my parents in like 3 years. Today's live stream will just be a quick catch up, make sure everything is working, aside from apparently the electricity. Give me a thumbs up, let me know that the volume is good and everything like this, and then we're just going to dive in and take a look at the charts. So yeah, it's been a hot minute. Actually, I wanted to lead with something a bit different than usual, which is here you can see CoinGecko. First off, big fan of CoinGecko. They've done a great job over the years of consistently, I think, being like the best in some of its data. And I don't normally do this, but I did find it entertaining. The gainers and losers here, I clicked on it this morning only because I knew which one of the ones I would see, which is Gala Games. I want to talk about the gaming sector. For those of you that are in the private group, we were looking at some of the details here. The current market cap of Gala Games at 362 million, but fully diluted valuation is at 2.4 million. So there's a max supply of 50 billion tokens here. I believe what that is. 38 of them have been distributed, with only 7 billion of them are currently in circulating supply. So there's a lot more on the market than this is worth something. I think it's the nodes that are generally distributing most of those tokens, but inevitably there are a lot of tokens out in the wild. So I suspect, and what we'll do is here, we'll kick a little closer. We'll start with Gala Games. This was a really beautiful falling wedge. Now, again, our interest in charts has been waning over the few years. Still fantastically powerful for utilizing, but we're more interested in venture. We just happens to mix both of these. So here, Gala Games had this beautiful falling wedge, and then right into an explosive first sign of strength. Now, when we're doing our Wyckoff methodology here, we'll pop it up. Bing, here you go. There's the top of the trading range, and here's the bottom of the trading range. You could effectively make these two pieces the bottom of the trading range. We have seen springs go this low through falling wedges in the past. So if you were with us in early 2019, let's just make sure everything is working, because okay, everything's working. Okay, so if you were with us in early 2019, we were watching Fetch. So let's go back to Fetch and rewind into that time frame here, because I wanted to look at something that's kind of similar. Okay, so here we were. Yes. So here's Fetch. Top of the trading range, effectively. I'm going to draw it in here. Boom, top of the trading range. Bottom of the trading range. We actually had a pretty big dip downwards into the spring itself. And one of the things I thought that was interesting here was the way that this kind of came to light. Now, there was another one actually that did something very similar. So this is also, we're taking a look at both Fetch and Seller from 2019, 2020, the start of the bull market then. I don't think this is the start of the bull market now for all of the tokens, but we have to remember that one of the reasons why I massively pivoted my focus into games and I guess decentralized gaming, the ability to own the assets and I guess the lore, all sorts of aspects of the game as it grows, I think is really important and probably underestimated, because I didn't realize for the longest time how big gaming was in comparison with everything else. So here we go. Bing X. Let's use Binance because FTX has totally collapsed. Okay, so here Seller as well. We go back to 20. Boom. Here, back to 2020. Okay, here we go. There's the first part of the bull market. Okay, so this is what we were watching before. Again, something very similar took place here in Seller in between. Oh, wow. Boom, there's 2020 and here's March. So this big drawdown do what, a tenth of a penny or something. Notice how similar fetch and seller are in their setup. But the way it kind of dropped below the trading range and then jumped, and then as you went from the spring, slowly climbed back in. This is what I believe we're seeing with what we were seeing with Gala Games. A nice, basically falls below. Boom, here we go. There's the trading. There's the TR. Boom. Okay. Falls below the TR and then comes back into it, and then through the rest of the TR continues to move into its secondary test. So this is going to be interesting to see. We might actually see gaming in terms of this system move forward faster than many of the other tokens, just because gaming has a clear, definitive use case for digital items and digital currency. We already know people spend money every month on digital currency in games and digital items in games. Easy. Let's not make things too complicated. We don't even need to find new customers, just change the way the community interacts. Oh, hey, there we go. Boom. Whoa. That's okay, we're set up. That fan is going to be super loud. Just give me 1 sec. Okay, probably, okay, reconnect, there we go. Okay, so, here, okay, I think everything's working now. Fine, yeah, that should be fine. Okay, sorry about that, but I'm glad the power's back. Okay, so this trading range we've been watching, Gala jumped out with an enormous amount. Something acquiring a mobile game studio, which probably went along with an acquisition of the tokens through some of the venture and bigger funds that are there, buying open market. And I think that, again, the node validators are one of the most important aspects of Gala Games. But this big jump is, although, what are we at right now? Almost like 140% or something. 234% in less than 16 days. That's amazing. So one of the questions is this the bottom of the spring or the start of the automatic rally? In 2020, when we saw falling wedges like this, it was actually the start of the spring. And we've gone over this and looking at other trading ranges within the Arcane Bear ecosystem. Within the ecosystem. Let's go back here. I'm going to log in. We're going to take a look at the Wyckoff trading ranges. So we've looked at a few of these accumulation ranges before. And again, my hypothesis here is that gaming is going to outpace the traditional crypto sector just because it's already huge. It just makes so much sense to me that you could see wide scale adoption faster. They're already accustomed to a bunch of things that you are a bit more difficult to navigate let's say by using Facebook or Instagram. Gamers are kind of a unique breed. They're usually a bit more techie as well. A lot of them like to build their own computers. So you're dealing with a unique demographic of people. Now, I'm just waiting for my login to finish here. So maybe we can skip back between these two frames. So I just wanted to do a live stream today to make sure everything is working. So that way, it's a little bit easier. I'm going to do one live version every Monday at around noon this time, so you can mark it in your calendar. One of the things I told myself I would do is be more conscientious about what videos are being made. That way you guys know where and when to expect them. And then I also wanted to be a bit more conscientious with my own time. So again, like I said, that was the longest I'd actually ever taken off Arcane Bear, I have had such a wonderful time doing all of this. So here we go. This is okay. This is the accumulation schematic for. If you have been doing your homework, you'll recognize this. Let's go full screen. Here you can see the falling wedge into phase C and a break about above the top of the box here too. So notice that your first primary selling point and your secondary tests are not below the trading range as we've seen in many other trading ranges. So when we go back to our chart here, this is actually, hold on, let's redraw this to match our drawing here. Yes, okay. So this is what they're saying the top of the range is that you effectively come down and have your first secondary test right at the top of the box. Yeah, right here, boom. Okay, and then you come back up, and then your spring is effectively the bottom of the trading range, or sorry, the falling wedge. And this is actually played out beautifully. Like, this type of accumulation schematic is played out beautifully. So even though I don't think we're entering a bull market for everything, it seems like we might be entering a bull market for the gaming sector, because all the big players, I think, understand or are learning very quickly the importance of what this does for not just in asset like the community, but how you can build. So another one that kept our eye, I made a little angel investment in as well, which is Magic and Treasure DAO. So they look to be largely at the bottom of their trading range as well. It looks like we've hit our primary selling point, our first automatic rally, and we may have actually already experienced the spring. Now, this is going to be very important to keep an eye on, because it's, again, not the only one that's been moving positively. So here I took the time this morning to mark out Ape token. Massive explosion upwards of $24 for its all-time high. It looks like we hit a primary selling and the selling, or primary supports and the selling climax here, and I believe we're in an accumulation range, or I think we've already finished the automatic rally. The CEO of Activision had recently joined the Bored Ape Other Deeds, the Yuga Labs game that they're building here. I suspect that there's a race on now for some of these games to produce more. I think the whole ape ecosystem, we're actually quite bullish against the Mutant Ape hat today. We bought one because inevitably it's hard to build brands. So if you have this organic growth of a brand within an ecosystem, you probably want to pay attention. And I was slow to recognize NFTs as identity and brand more so, right? Like, it's easier to sell brand and identity than it is to sell like a currency, especially when we know that currency and money are largely value, or like attritions of value through the hallucination of large groups of people. It's not like the US dollar is specifically valuable for anything other than that hallucination of a large group of people. If those people were to wake up from that American dream, it would be a very different story, because you would look for something that actually has value based off a function model instead of something your government just print and give away to its friends. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of things wrong with that. But ultimately, what I think is also very interesting about the gaming sector is it's much less contentious than money and governments. One of the ideas here is that over time, games could be the Trojan horse that overthrows some of the older regimes, just because it's a better, faster way to get a billion people on the same type of ecosystem, much like Facebook or Instagram. And we had thought that in early 2017. That's why I loved Steemit. I thought, I think even today, people in Venezuela are probably making more money from Steemit posting on there than they could at a regular job. So we know already that the adaptations of technology in the social context, whether it's games or media platforms, should be giving value back to the participants, because those participants' eyes are being sold advertisements every step of the way. And Web3, what are blockchain, crypto, this can help flip that right on its head. To me, the gaming sector could be that one that slides underneath the crack of the door without anyone ever really noticing, where you end up at 1 billion people that have some type of digital identity and money that's not government backed. And that's really what's of interest to me, is finding the way that this technology ends up being sovereign in its function and non-denominated by state interests, because that's one of the things that Bitcoin has managed to do so well. Now we could get into arguments about the mining and how that might be, you could monopolize that through state interest, and maybe it already has been. But inevitably, I think the games will be that thing that supersedes the difficult conversation of money and currency and investing, and ends up in that next billion people's hands. So we're big fans of the Yuga Labs ecosystem, Gala Games, Treasure DAO, those are some of the top games, and Star Atlas had a 20% jump today as well. But ultimately, it's not about, we got some wrong too, right? Like Tryhards is just, I don't think they're going to be successful. Their game looks fun, but they're just not great at community building. And we get some wrong. We account for that in the venture thesis on purpose, right? Is high risk, high reward. We know that these have a very high likelihood of going to zero. there's a very high likelihood that Doge would have gone to zero. So any money invested into it, the asymmetric quality that was the potential is really the interest of the loss of the investment to begin with. We've gone over this thesis, hopefully in depth enough for people to understand. Now, usually you don't get the understanding until you go through the experience of like the 5-year process. The coffee can idea from our book, or from the book 100 Baggers, I think is a great example, because it shows 100 years of data. And really what you usually lack as an investor is that data that's necessary to have the long-term conviction about a play. Like, again, Monster Energy Drink. Maybe you're a fan of Monster Energy Drink. You're like, you should just, if you invested $100 a month in Monster Energy Drink for the last 20 years, you'd have like $100 million. That's fucking crazy. So because of this, I think it's important that people understand the long-term gameplay here is deeply connected to that emotional state. So although I could make an argument that, hey, from our internal treasury, we should have taken way more profits, on the bright side, our reputation never got stained for selling on top of into you guys buying, because we were never saying, hey, we like ideas like this and then selling. We're just consistently accumulating. Now, luckily, accumulating enough that it doesn't destroy us, because that could happen. But also at the same point, being cognizant of where we are in the markets and the market cycle itself. I think we're pretty near the bottom for Bitcoin, although there was a potential there where we could have gone, where we still could recover here quite quickly. It seems like the fact that DCG went under and we aren't seeing a lot of havoc, I think is quite a positive thing. But the reason why I'm so interested again in things like ape tokens, not because these things are shit coins in comparison with Bitcoin, is that they have a higher potential for adoption through identity and branding and community building than Bitcoin ever could, because of the contentious nature and arguments around money itself. So that's kind of the thesis, roughly speaking. Bubblegrass here says, how have your thoughts changed over the last 3 years from crypto in the space? Well, it's so been here for more than 3 years, but over the last 3 years, what's changed? Just understanding the venture nature of things was new to me. I was unaccustomed to those types of growth as an early on trader. We're thinking 10x was a win, taking the profits on a trade and then watching my subsequent trade go up 100x. And if you're patient over the 10-year process, maybe over 1,000x. And that was difficult for me. That's still today the biggest learning lesson through that function of time that I think everyone should take with them, is the potential of asymmetry over a long enough period of time. Because there are lots of moments where owning Dogecoin, buying and then selling, and then thinking to yourself, oh, I could have bought back at a much better price, sounded like a great idea, but just having even a small amount of money in there over the course of the last 7 to 10 years worked out fucking way better than any trader could pretty much ever pull off. So there's that diagram of that data again, which I think books like Dan Dow and 100 Baggers help illustrate very, very well. And the thing that we consistently try to illustrate is there are market cycles that try to, with your psychology, that try to get rid of you while you're in the market. You've got a good idea, but you're just not patient enough to see the accumulation process go through. And often most people only show up when the market prices are really high. And if you tell them not to buy, they're going to be upset because they think you're giving them bad advice. So the best advice is just to max limit the buy and function it over time. A lot of people call it dollar cost averaging. As I think you basically should be investing as the money is free. And then make it like a bill. For most people, it could be like a bill based off how much X capital you have within your revenue streams. So this has worked out the best and has the data for working out the best. And gaming, I still stand by very strongly that it's going to outpace the rest of the crypto sector because it is a less contentious argument and already a multi-billion, 100 billion and growing plus industry that sells digital skins and digital currencies. I mean, it only makes sense. The product models fit so seamlessly. It's like chocolate and psychedelic mushrooms. You'd be silly to think that wouldn't work. I think as well. So Nedamira says, will gaming pull up in blockchains like Avalanche? Avalanche has offered some really unique functions for the gaming ecosystem as well. And I want to point out here that this may actually look, at least the start to what it would appear maybe a falling wedge and a trading range. So we'll keep an eye on Avalanche. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Avalanche. I think if Ethereum is going to have a competitor, it's in Avalanche. technology moves so quickly though anyways. I think it's very difficult to say long term. We could effectively see them all superseded. I think that largely has to do more though with the question of energy, like how do you produce energy? If we had fusion all of a sudden working, oh my God, it would change everything for all types of money and value assertion, because it would be infinitely cheaper to produce those things. But we're right back down near the bottom of 0.10 on what appears to be a 3 peaks and a domed house here for Avalanche 2. So I don't think we can go much lower, although I don't think we've seen the spring yet here in Avalanche either. You could make an argument that this was the low volume spring here, but I don't think that we've seen it yet. So being patient, building that conviction over time, and adjusting your thesis as the conviction builds. So for instance, because we're fans of the Bored Ape, Mutant Ape, Yuga ecosystem, we've been accumulating. Now, we wanted to get more other side lands. We'll probably snag a coda here. We're also looking at potatoes and the meme land stuff. We're going to have more games on and probably actually do some gameplay with the show as well, which will be quite fun. One sec, I gotta just gotta change the battery apparently because I haven't used the studio in so long. Getting everything plugged back in and working. Yeah, so there we go. Sorry about that. I had to get everything plugged back in and working again. It's been a few days away, and everything kind of needs a re-up once that happens. I'm not even sure if the camera will come back online now. Oh, it doesn't even look like the camera will come back on. Nope, it's off. The camera is off for the the rest of the stream. That's a boopy boo. Okay, so we're gonna do once every Monday at around noon. We'll do a live stream chat like this. We can go over a bunch of things. I'm going to cut it short today because today was just more of a test run. I want to make sure things are working, and apparently they're not working. The camera's offline right now. I'm not even sure how I would go about fixing that in the middle of the stream here. But nonetheless, we will be back. I think on Wednesday it'll be just a video of me looking at data, chatting, probably not in this part of the studio, maybe outside more. So you get 2 videos per week for sure, one on Monday and one on Thursday. That's what I've got scheduled in for the rest of the year. Yeah, that's it. I want to take more of your guys' thoughts and questions, but because I don't have the other video fixed right now and the power was off, and this is just funny. Literally, like standing here 2 minutes before the stream is about to start and the power goes off. I'm like, yep. Yep. Thank you, Jungle, for being so beautiful and totally out of touch with regular society. Still the Arcane Bear, no face, just this part. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for joining. Yeah, we'll be back. Maybe I'll actually do another live stream tonight just to make sure everything's working one more time, because I definitely didn't get it.